All right, lads, welcome back to another episode of the Stogie Lads podcast. This is probably our most anticipated one for us to make, at least. We have the absolute pleasure and the honor to introduce the biggest guest we could ever imagine to have, Mr. José Blanco. Lad, tell our listeners about him a little bit in case they somehow don't really know who he is.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to paint a picture up here and for you guys to realize how excited we are for this interview. So Jose, he's been in the cigar industry for a very long time. The first time he started working with cigars was at La Aurora, a Dominican cigar brand, as a sales director back in 1999. So the year after we were born, actually, that's when he started out working with cigars. And as I mentioned, he was sales director, but he quickly started working with on the blends as well for La Aurora, and accomplished great success in 2004 with 100 Años, which ranked actually second on Cigar Aficionado's top 25 cigars of the year. He continued to work for La Aurora till 2011, when he actually retired, but that was a very short-lived retirement, as a few months later he became the senior vice president at Fuente de Nicaragua, where his duties included blend and brand development for the company. And the first blend he did with Joya was the Cuenca y Blanco cigar, which was released in 2012, which was made from tobaccos from actually 4 different countries, like Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Peru, and Ecuador. His resume continues. In 2016, he joined Ipicario as senior vice president, working very closely with Ernesto, or Ernie himself.
And that's to just add on to that era. That's when they released those 2 cigars that were one cigar of the year, 2 years out of 3.
Exactly.
So pretty good stint at Ipicario there.
Very good stint. And now, just last year in 2020, he joined Arturo Fuente, working to support the growth of Fuente across the world, working very closely with Carlito, who runs Fuente now. And obviously, you'll get to hear Jose talk about more of his past. This was just a short summary to introduce him. And
I mean, as you guys could hear, incredible resume. And just a wealth of knowledge beyond our comprehension almost. So we hope that the episode to come here now is as educational for you guys as it was for us. We just sat and marveled and listened and tried to soak up some of his wisdom, but it was an absolute incredible experience.
For sure.
So enjoy the episode, guys, and we will see you guys in a few seconds here.
Yeah.
Welcome, lads. Welcome to our biggest, for sure, podcast episode to date. We're here with the absolute master of tobacco, José Blanco. Welcome.
Yeah, it's a complete honor to have you on. It feels weird just sitting here talking to you, because in preparing with this, we've seen you on the screen a lot, like doing your shows and stuff, but now we're actually on the other end, so it's very cool to have you on.
No, to me it's a pleasure. And when Manuel, my cousin, reached out to me, I had seen it, and to be honest, between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I got like 45,000 followers. Why people will follow me, I have no clue about it. But then I started to see it, what you guys are doing. And then when Manuel told me the age, I said, no, this can't be true. Because at 22, 23 years old, you're just starting to smoke. There's people that have been smoking for 40 years, have never been able to develop a palate. And there's people, a couple of years, they develop it. Now, in time, the palate's going to develop more and more. But we could talk about that later. But seeing how professional your page is and the amount of followers, I think it's like 24,000 followers, something like that.
I mean, across everything. 17,000 on Instagram and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. So great job, guys, because I'm only up to about 15,000 and I've been doing this forever. So I guess you guys are doing something right and I'm doing something wrong.
You have a lot more followers than what counts in the cigar, like in the real world, in buying cigars. You've done some amazing stuff, and I guess we'll we'll get to that, right? Because I mean, you've been working with some incredible brands. I mean, you've probably smoked tens of thousands of cigars in your life. I wanted to ask the first question though. Do you remember your first cigar? Do you know what it was? Do you?
Oh yeah. That was.
Yeah.
I'll have that till the day I die. It was okay. I got to tell you a little bit about myself. My father was a political exile. We had a dictator in Dominican Republic called Rafael Leonidas Trujillo. He ruled the country for 31 years. So at the age of 17, my family's always been involved in politics. My 82, 86, my cousin was president. My father, all the family involved in politics. So my father was trying to get involved in politics. And then my mother sent him, I think it was, she said, for $19 on a boat from Santo Domingo. Remember, we're talking 1930, 1931, to New York, where she had a brother living there. So we lived there, born in Manhattan. Then I grew up in Great Neck, Long Island. Trujillo's killed May 30th, 1961. We come back to Dominican Republic, 1962. So my cousin, José Blanco from Tabacalera, Palma, does La Galera and many other stuff. Father had a factory. So we would go there on the weekends, and then on the summers, we would go there like every week. So around 14, I'm in the factory with Gume Leon was the old man that used to run the factory. And I can't remember who, to make me like a little cigar. It was made, remember at that time, no molds. There was no molds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And it might have been a size, maybe I would say, let's say 5 by 34, 36, kind of really elegant, cool, kind of movie celebrity stuff. And I started to smoke it. But you got to remember that I grew up seeing my father smoking 4 or 5 cigars a day in New York.
Oh, yeah.
So, I started to smoke it, and then, I said, wow, I really liked it. Then I came back the next week. They made me 5 or 6 more. Then, in the afternoon, I would smoke them. And then my mother one day tells my father, look, Juan Riquelme, Jose cannot smoke. No, but it says, my father says, okay. And then I made a deal with my mother. Okay, Mom, I'll officially smoke when I'm 16. So when I was 16, my father came home. We had a group of guys at home having some, not beer, Coke and cake.
Yeah.
And my father brought me a bundle. It could have been 20 or 25 little cigars. And in front of my mother, he gives me the bundle. Says, now you officially smoke. And then my father said to me, is it okay? Yeah. So then my mother went to the kitchen, and my father pulled me aside. He says to me, you think I know you haven't been smoking what you promised? All the cigars that have been missing here in the house. And I said, Dad, okay. So that's when I had my first cigar. It was a cigar that was basically all Dominican at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Because I started to see different seeds, because we had at that time King Diaz, Chago Diaz, we had Olor. You would have tobaccos from different regions, from San Victor, from Gurabo, from Jacagua. And then at that time, I started to see for the first time Piloto Cubano.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of different stories of who brought the first seeds into it. But I remember when I smoked that, it was totally different. The sweetness of it, even this, if you look at photos of the original Piloto Cubano, it used to be very kind of round, not like a Criollo 98 or a Corojo 99 that ends like in a spade. So that was really my first experience. And up till now, it's been, it'll be on October 27th, in a couple of months. It will be actually 56 years of smoking cigars.
Incredible.
More than the two of you combined together.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. 10 times more than the two of us combined. So the wealth of knowledge, I mean, already it's incredible. It's amazing. What a love story with cigars.
Yeah, but from such an early age, right?
yeah, but I think we in that way we can relate a little bit, because we did start smoking kind of early as well.
Before we were, I guess, legally allowed to buy cigars even.
Yeah.
But one thing I also have to say is that it's in my blood, because my great-grandfather was wheeling and dealing and buying tobacco. My grandfather grew tobacco. My father grew tobacco in Tamboril. And of course, Hochi and all my other cousins, they grow tobacco. So in a way, it's always been in my it's always been in my DNA.
Yeah, you were born into it, huh? Yeah, it's amazing. So you were talking about all the time. I have one question that I kind of wanted to start off with, because this is one of the most, kind of interesting things to ask someone who's been so extremely involved. Like you said, 56 years of smoking. You've seen, you already described, you already saw the dawn of new tobaccos in the Dominican Republic. I wanted to ask you if there's anything you've experienced like as the biggest changes throughout your time in the cigar industry. Like, what would you say are the most positive and maybe perhaps even most negative changes you've seen throughout, all these decades in the industry?
Well, negative by far, smoking bans, FDA regulations in Europe, regulations all over the world.
Yeah.
The rights to not smoke a legal product that pays taxes. I don't want to get into big tobacco, but I'll give you this example. You could take this cigar, this Magnum 44, which I love. You could take it to any lab in the world. It's going to process. It's going to tell you the nitrate, the pH, the magnesium, the tar, everything. But it's 100% tobacco. But you take cigarettes, you take vape, you take all that crap that's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no comparison. Carlitos says many times, about minorities that are discriminated by race, by color, whatever it is. We are the most discriminated group of people in the world. Cigar smokers in general. It's a choice. After you're 18, and I've said it for years, in the States, if you could die for your country at 18, you should be allowed to drink and smoke in 18. Can I get an amen on that? Amen.
Of course. Amen. Yes, 100%.
And we know about that in Sweden, like with the regulations and how we're not even allowed to smoke outdoors now in restaurant areas or cafes. So we definitely know about that, and how cigars are so often bundled together with cigarettes in that sense, how it's
thrown together, even though they're not even close to the same product.
Exactly.
It's so frustrating.
There's an uninterest to see the differences between cigarettes and cigars.
So regulations, smoking bans, FDA, all the regulations in Europe, and everything is getting worse. The World Health Organization is a big proponent of that. But what they don't understand is, what are you going to tell hundreds of thousands or millions of people who are affected like that already, that are living in poverty? Look at the bad job they've done with COVID and all these things going on. They're left and right. We wish everybody gets better and all that. And I think they've done a lot of positive things. But, you guys got other priorities more important. Which is starvation, the injustice of the world, what's happening with COVID, to really be chasing people who smoke a legal product. Or, how would I say, be smart about it and classify it, and don't put us with vape,
100%,
tobacco, with all that crap that's out there. So what have I seen positive? I mean, there's so much to talk about positive, because if you go from when I started to smoke, I mean, we didn't have Twitter, Facebook, we didn't have social media. Look how long it took for the blogs to come out in the end of the 80s and the 90s. Look, the influence of a magazine by Marvin Shankin. That other people had tried, how it turned the world. I mean, eventually, maybe somebody would have come up with the idea. And there's a lot of people that don't believe in the magazine. There's people that support the magazine. But at the end of the day, we have to be very thankful every day for Marvin Shankin, because what Marvin did revolutionized cigars. What were before the people notes on cigar? Well, I like it, don't like it. It's mild, it's medium, it's strong. That was basically it. These tasting notes that really exist helped a lot of people to understand. And the other thing that I got to tell people is this: when I hear people saying this, and I'm not saying because I'm friends, I know Marvin very well, Dave Savona's like a brother to me. When I hear people say that ads are bought, that is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Because I'm going to give you two examples. When I was with La Aurora, we got the #2 cigar of the year with the 100 Años. It was the first time they did the top 25. I challenge anybody to go to that magazine and see if we had an ad that year. We didn't. Second case, Viaje, when it got the number 2 cigar of the year. I challenge anybody to go see if it has an ad, and they still don't have an ad. And the companies, to be honest, and I'm not going to mention them, that spend the most amount on an issue, let me see, 2 pages, 50 for brands, $200,000 to $250,000 an issue. Sometimes they don't even make the top 25.
Yeah.
But not only that, those big companies, none of them have ever made the top 25. So for those who think it's that, do other publications kind of fool around with that? But I personally believe, and I stick out my neck for Cigar Journal and also for Cigar Aficionado. There's others out there. I'm not going to get into that. But advertising does not matter with them. So that has been a positive change. Social media. I mean, look at this. Who would have said when I was young, the 2 young guys out of Sweden would have a page educating people and bringing love and passion to it. So there's been a lot of changes in our industry.
Yeah, that's what we've noticed. I mean, it's breaking down that gatekeeperism. Like you say, I mean, we wouldn't have stood a chance to do anything connected to the industry many years ago.
Exactly. So many possibilities, not only to educate, but also for cigar smokers to connect together and just discuss cigars. Because we know that, like, we have each other to smoke with and stuff like that. But outside of us in our age, there's not a lot of young cigar smokers, so being able to connect with people that aren't necessarily within your own bubble, geographical location or bubble is amazing as well.
Manuel, who made this, your cousin who made this interview possible, mainly, I mean, we met him through Instagram, just connecting, and then we've hung out with him in person countless times now. I mean, it's amazing in that sense.
No, I mean, it is. No, but look, I see still a lot of young people on your page smoking cigars, because what happens, social media, and this is what people don't understand about social media. You have a whole bunch of posers, which is okay, celebrities. I get every day, for $20 I'll get you 10,000 more followers. For $30 I'll get you this. I'm not interested. I mean, I get requests from people. I see it. Look, if you're a cigar smoker or you're into scotch or into coffee, I'm okay. But don't send me a request because you eat a 6-pound hamburger. You want to be the world champ. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in all those things. I love the good things in life, good shoes and a tie and a shirt and all that. But that's not my thing. My thing is cigar, once in a while a drink, and just meeting people, spreading the love, but educating people more than anything. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. Amazing. We have some more questions because really, like what you talked about educating here, I mean, that's what we've been looking forward to so much, getting just soaking up maybe like 1% of that wisdom. So I wanted to ask maybe a more technical question now, and this, I think it's going to be very very good for our followers, because I know a lot of people are more beginners that follow us. Would you say that what's the best tobacco to work with, in your opinion? Do you have any of your favorites to work with? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I don't think it's about is there tobaccos that are better than others? Yes, because the seeds that were chosen, the land, the microclimate, the person that's behind it, the curing, the fermentation, the aging, the making of the cigars. But let's give everything an A, and everything was good. What you have to look for the beginners, and this is what sometimes just kind of, I'm not saying pisses me off, it makes me uncomfortable, is what young guy, like 2 young guys like you, let's say you're college graduates, you walk into a shop, 2 things could happen. The owner, and it doesn't matter if it's young or it's old, it all depends on what you would say, customer service comes in, you 2 guys come in, I'm the owner, I'm on it. We just, our dads and granddads used to smoke, and, we want to, start smoking. Could you give us some advice and recommendations? First thing the guy goes like, yeah, another one of these. Okay, come into the humidor. Look at this, look at that. Then all of a sudden he sees something that has been sitting there for 3 years. He can't sell it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, well, you could try these, you could try that. So basically, but a good retailer, first of all, will say, "Good morning, young guys. What can I do for you?" "Oh yeah, we want to start smoking. Could you give us some advice?" "Absolutely. Could you sit down a minute?" "Yes." The first thing you got to do is that you got to start off with something mild. You got cigars that are mild to medium, medium to full body, and all the way up. So let me walk you guys into the humidor, and don't think I'm trying to make a sales pitch with you, but I would strongly recommend that you buy 2 or 3 different mild Connecticut cigars. You could take this brand, this brand, this brand. The kids are very happy. They take one of each and they go out. Then the guy sits out with them, shows them how to cut a cigar. So what do we need for this? Tries to sell them a cheap $2 or $3 lighter, a cutter, and maybe a very cheap lighter, one of those Jeep or whatever it is. But explains to them, and then tells them, smoke the cigars, take your time, because you're first-time smokers. Don't inhale. Just keep the cigar, the smoke in your mouth, and then after that, come back and tell me what you're picking up. The guys come back. They said, "Well, we like them, but we want a little bit more." So then you know that the guys, you're going to start to build up, your tolerance scale and to build up for what you're going to look. So that is one of the things that you really have to start is when you're getting on your first cigars, or go to a good, reliable social media site, or try to go to a true tobacconist. And like I say, it's not about if it's old. There's old people who are miserable, and there's young people that are just as miserable. So it's all about the attitude that people have.
100%. We've experienced that, a similar kind of attitude once in Stockholm. It makes
absolutely.
or breaks. Yeah.
That's a very nice way of just like engaging beginners into getting into cigars. Just to follow up there, that we had listed was if you could offer some quick tips on how to develop your palate, because we've been talking a bit about this, but
so many people ask us about this all the time, like just all the time people ask, how do you get a palate? Because I think everyone wants to get those, maybe not crazy notes, but elaborate notes, and experience a cigar as fully as it can be experienced. Like, how do you get there after 56 years of smoking?
Listen, guys, to be honest, it takes time.
Yeah.
First of all, let's put it this way. You start off mild, then you work your way up. Maybe you don't want to be a full body, full flavor cigar. So really you're comfortable with a mild cigar in the morning, and then really midday, if you're going to have the second one, it's going to be mild to medium. And then maybe after dinner, you want a medium bodied cigar, and you're comfortable with that. But one of the problems that has, and I'm going to go through a little bit of my notes of my tasting seminar, is the simplest things that consumers all over the world confuse. People tend to confuse flavor with strength. You could have a mild cigar that's full flavor.
Yes,
of course.
And you could have a strong cigar that's just strength. To me, the bottom line always is going to be flavor. On a scale of 1 to 10 has to be flavor. Now, a lot of people know I'm not a big fan of Connecticut, but once in a while, if I feel in the mood, and it's funny, it won't be at the beginning of the day, it'll be at the end of the day. Maybe I've gone 2 or 3 hours without smoking, then maybe 5 or 6, I have maybe a coffee. I said, let me smoke something kind of mild. That'll happen once in a blue moon. But then then you have to understand that in your mouth, you should know, what are the 4 characteristics you pick up in your mouth?
Oh yeah, I mean, you mean like bitter, sweet, salty, and
sour.
Sour.
Yeah.
That's the 4th one. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, and umami, which means
Right.
sabroso, which means very, very tasty.
Yeah.
So those are notes you're only going to pick up if you don't retrohale. Now, guys, don't ever inhale. That's not good.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
of course.
Retrohale. Now, when you're retrohaling, That's when you're picking up, not that I say it, scientists, more than 300 different notes. You could pick up a cigar as metallic, it's grassy, it's earthy, it's sweet. But what sweetness are you picking up? Is it the sweetness of a bittersweet Godiva, or is it the sweetness of a milk chocolate? When you're picking up spices, what kind of spice? Is it red pepper, black pepper, white pepper? How many times have you smoked a cigar and it's a premium cigar that you know that it's not flavored, that you pick up like a dark note of a rich espresso? But when you retrohale, and this is what I tell people in my seminars, how many, I got 50 guys in the seminar, how many guys retrohale? 3 people. I've gone seminars, I've got seminars with 30 people, not one has retrohale. So what I do is this, guys, I tell them, take 2 or 3 puffs. Now let the cigar rest for a minute, minute and a half. Now, take 3 puffs and blow it through your nose, and it's good for the sinus. So what it is, and people say, it's like smoking 2 different cigars.
It is really.
So that is very important. And to be honest, for beginners, do not do that now. Wait 3 months, 4 months, a year, 2 years, till you feel comfortable. And the other thing is, you don't have to retrohale every time you do. Like Carlito, if he's smoking a cigar for an hour, he'll retrohale half of the time. Sometimes, because believe it or not, after COVID, I don't know what happened to me. I feel great. I feel great. My blood pressure is better. There's a lot of things that are better, but I don't know. I've been clogged up since. It's been now 6 months, and I can hardly retrohale. So I don't know what it is. Well, the rest is okay. So the other thing is that people have misconceptions with the color of a cigar. People see a Maduro, and they think it's a strong cigar. First of all, Maduro means ripe. It's the greatest, one of the greatest misconceptions people. I could go into a store and pick up 50 cigars with a light. Majority of Maduros are just solid medium, with some rare exception. 2 or 3 companies can make with a Connecticut broadleaf or Negro San Andres or Banana Piraca, or really a powerhouse. But the majority of Maduros is just, and Maduro, what is Maduro? It's just a fermentation process we do through the leaves to unify the colors of that. So forget about it. It's not in the majority a strong cigar. Get that out of here. Dark. Never judge a cigar by the color of the wrapper.
It's amazing. We had a podcast episode a few weeks ago where we talked about the biggest misconceptions, and I think almost everything you said now we discussed.
Yeah, exactly.
but I was just thrown back to yesterday with the opus that you were talking about. Like that Angel Share was a perfect example of a lighter. I mean, it was medium bodied, but in flavor it was an explosion. I mean, there was so much flavor, but it wasn't like a crazy heavy cigar. But just in flavor, my God, that was exactly what you were talking about. It
has a lot of flavor and a lot of body. It has a lot of flavor, a lot of body. It's not as intense as the original opus, but the Angel Share is a solid medium, a little bit more than medium, but it's rich, it's complex, it's sweet, has good earthiness, has a little bit of spice. It's very complex, what we call a very round smoke. So that's an amazing smoke.
Yeah, it was incredible. That was I was just almost 2 hours. Just I couldn't even think about anything else. I was just enthralled in it, just enthralled. Okay, so another question, sort of about the working with tobacco. I just wanted to know from someone who's also inside a little bit more of the industry. Is there any strain or country or type of tobacco that a lot of people don't know about? Because everyone knows about Connecticut Shade, everyone knows about Habano, everyone knows about all these. Is there one that's really sort of under the radar, underrated, that a lot of people don't know about, that you've worked with, perhaps, that you think is a fantastic tobacco?
Well, I think even though, because Fuente uses so much Cameroon, true Cameroon. Remember, there's a lot of people who say it's Cameroon, but it's not Cameroon. If it's not grown in Cameroon, you cannot call it Cameroon. Because what is really Cameroon? And even though the Merifel have worked with seeds and have their own seeds, but it's originally a Sumatra seed. So what a lot of people do is they grow it in Honduras, Nicaragua, Ecuador, and they call it Cameroon. But you cannot call a cigar a Patek Philippe assembled in Hong Kong, a Patek Philippe or a Rolex or some wine. You can't, you know that analogy about that. So that if it wasn't, I think because of Fuente has done such an amazing, with the bestsellers, with the Don Carlos, with the 858s, with all these, with Cameroon, which to me, the uniqueness, the flavor, the spice of that wrapper, I think it's, in my personal opinion, I've been a fan of it for 35 years, the best wrapper in the world. But I'll tell you about some tobaccos. I'll give you an example. People know a lot about Brazil. But they don't really know how great of tobacco is. It's very sweet, very aromatic.
Yeah.
It burns very, very, very well. Now, that said, still to this day, nobody has been able to make a cigar 100% Brazilian that has been, you could say, really, that has been really successful. Because to be honest, it's very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's not complex. It's no disrespect, kind of boring. But to take like a Matafina or Bayano or Matanorte that don't grow that, and you use it in a blend, it's just out of this world. The same things happens with tobaccos from Peru. Peru have some amazing tobaccos, but at the same time, you cannot take that tobacco and make a cigar 100% successful out of it. And there's other tobaccos that have been sent out, but then people started experimenting with a different that. But the problem is, for you to get something going, it has to be consistent. That every year you could provide to the companies or to the cigar leaf handlers enough tobacco that you could get it into a production, into a company.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned a lot. I mean, I completely agree with I mean, I lived in Brazil. They love their Brazilian puros over there, but like I had an Alonso Menendez.
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot you lived there in Brazil.
Yeah, but it's like you say. I mean, the Alonso Menendez I remember having, and it's just chocolate, like you say. It's very one-dimensional. It's sweet, it's nice, but a casual cigar. Yeah. Do you have anything to move on to here, Elad?
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned, let me tell you this. Now that you mentioned Alonso Menendez, that's Benjamin Menendez's brother or cousin.
Oh yeah.
Yes. It's the same Menendez family from Cuba.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, they're also connected. The whole cigar world is all connected.
All right. So here's a question. One thing we've been noticing, obviously, is the growing ring gauges that we're seeing, especially very popular in the States and all that. What is your take on like the growing ring gauges, and also as a, I guess, blender? How does it affect? Yeah, how does it affect the production?
Well, let me tell you this. I've seen in the last, I don't know if it's because of COVID, I've seen in the last year that it's gone down a little bit. 3 or 4 years ago, I mean, it was cigars on steroids. And not because I work with him and he's one of my best friends and we talk once or twice a week. Nobody could blend a cigar in a big ring gauge like Ernesto Perez Carrillo.
Okay, yeah.
Ernie, because that's his thing. He was the one that started this with when he was still the owner of La Gloria Cubana. He sold that to Swedish Match in 1999 when he came out with the Series R. Nobody had heard of 54, 56, 58 and all that. Then when he came out with his cigar, he came out with the inch 60, 62, 64, a 70, a 8 by 58, I think it is. I personally am not a big fan of ring gauges, but at the end of the day, it's not what I like. I think it's something you feel comfortable with. Everybody knows my favorite size is a Corona Gorda, 5.5 by 46. Then it's Corona, 5.25 by 42. Then it's going to be a Lancero, Robusto. And of course, once in a while, I'll smoke a 54. I'll smoke anything, to be honest. But it's not that I'm gonna chase. We have some 60 ring gauges that are good, but I'm going to be honest. I'd rather go down to those 52, 54s, 50, 48. I like a nice 7 by 47, the original Churchill
Oh
size.
yeah. Oh yes.
I like a Longsdale 6.5 by 44, but it's a size that doesn't sell. So that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. The concentration, like it's a more concentrated, intense flavor when they're thinner, I think. But you touched on Ipicarillo a little here, and this is one that I wanted to talk about because let's not forget you were involved with the company when they produced these cigars that made the cigar of the year. I mean, 2 out of 3 years, absolutely incredible. Just like to ask about the goings on in a company. How is it when you gain that amount of success and you gain a cigar of the year, not only once but 2 times in 3 years? Like, how does it affect the company? What are the goings on? Like, how does the production change? All that stuff.
Well, to
What's
be
it like?
honest, it's when you get the cigar of the year, in the next 24 hours, you're sold out from whatever you have. Now, for companies like us, like Padron, or Fuente, because of the inventory of tobacco we have, you could still handle it, but it's not going to come out the way you want it. Remember when we got Eye of the Shark? There was people that didn't get that box, didn't get one single cigar for a year. Why? Because it's a very limited production, especially on the Eye of the Shark. Now, in Ernesto's case, you got to remember that Ernesto in the top 25, I think the last 25 years, I think he's been on it 18, 19, 20 times from number 2, number 4, number 1 twice, number 11, 18. He's been there all the time. So he has always produced great cigars. But the problem with that is if you don't keep the consistency and because you want to make more, you're going to cut corners. And I'm not going to mention brands, but there's a whole bunch of brands that have been number 1 that today they're non-existent. Yeah. So at the end of the day, Ernie, my brother, my good friend, the same as Carlito, they're very conscientious of what quality means. It's like I'll give you an example about Fuente doesn't come out with a lot of things. What people don't understand is that Carlito, like a mad scientist, he's in his lab and he's working on the cigars. And I spent 10 days with him now and Papo, try this. And it's still good. And him and Ernesto have something very clear. We can make it better. But they both say, but Carlito more than anything else, nothing is perfect. We try to do our best. We don't cut corners. We use tobaccos just in regular production that's 5-6 years old. These specialty opals and all these rare things to make. We're talking about tobaccos 10, 12, 15 years. For next year, we're coming out with some things that are just going to blow people away, which I cannot divulge, because first of all, I would have to kill the both of you after the interview, and then Carlito will have my balls for this. So it's going to be an exciting year next year. But I can tell you, I have the utmost respect for everybody in the industry, and I really dislike when I hear people talking bad about other brands. And I just tell them, look, young man or sir, whatever, you might not like his cigar, but just remember, this guy took his time to grow the tobacco.
Of course.
Cure the tobacco, ferment the tobacco, age the tobacco, make the cigars, put a sales team out there to try to make a living. So if you don't like it, just don't buy it.
Yeah.
But respect the person.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a little bit of a follow-up because you touched a little about the overproduction. You touched on that a little bit, and I think that's something that's plaguing Cuba a lot, right? They can't keep up with demand. The quality's just been in decline. You're working in the Eastern Hemisphere, right, with Arturo Fuente, and there's a country right now that is hard to ignore in the cigar industry. It's China. That is like their demand for cigars is skyrocketing, and I know the Fuente family have this philosophy of avoiding overproduction. But how do you see the growing Chinese demand for cigars, and with Fuente especially, and how to keep from overproducing and keeping that quality?
Let me tell you something. Fuente will never overproduce. They didn't do it in the boom, and they haven't done it now. It's a certain amount of million cigars that will be made every year, and that's it. And what we do is we try to rationalize fair enough to give. Some companies, especially in Europe, the Middle East, haven't sent cigars in months, some even in years. But we still keeping everybody, our suppliers in Hong Kong and in China, Malaysia, South Africa, all over the world, all the countries we're into. Now, if they want 100 boxes and they get 50 or 60, they're very happy with it. Because sometimes they order 10 boxes from a company and they can't even get that. So we've been very conscientious of that, keeping the quality. Now, I'll put it to you this way. When I left Hoya, because after 30 years in La Aurora, I was going to retire. And the funny thing is that I went to spend a whole month in Sweden. So I started to get a whole bunch of calls, and I got a call from Alejandro Martinez Cuenca from Joya de Nicaragua, and which I have the utmost respect. I had a great interview with Juan, his son, the other day. Fantastic interview. I have a lot of respect, and Nicaragua means a lot to me and Emma. Jasper was born there, and I always have a funny story, and I told it on the show. So Jasper likes soccer a lot. So I tell him, what's going to happen one day if Jasper becomes a celebrity on sports? Well, I doubt it, but if he does, who's going to claim it? Is it going to be Sweden?
Yeah.
Or because he has a Swedish passport?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be Nicaragua? So that might be with the Olympics a big thing, but that's a joke. So
let's hope Sweden gets it. Let's hope for Sweden.
So after I finished my 2 years, with Alejandro, him and I wanted to go back to DR. So I got a contract while I was working on other projects to work with China by somebody that I can't disclose. It was a non-disclosure agreement, and I was traveling there a lot. So I remember I went there, and I even did seminars in Shanghai and all that in Hong Kong, and I was surprised. A lot of people knew me. But at that time, the imports to China were very, very little. I mean, any state in the United States smoked more premium cigars. The only cigars legal at that time was Habanos and Davidoff. But I started, when I did my seminar, there was about 40 people because the place was big, but it was, I told Lily, I'm in town, I want to do a seminar. Yeah, I'll invite some people. So the line outside was crazy, but they had to just hold it. And I was amazed to see at least 5 or 6 of them knew who I was, which was not important, but I saw a lot of young people.
Okay.
And I was seeing people, cigars in China ain't cheap. We're talking about cigars. I saw a guy, he had to be maybe 35, 36, bought a box of a limited edition that Habanos made for China. I can't remember the year of something. I don't know what it was called. It was a Diadema box of 10, and I think each one was like $175.
Whoa.
When they told him the price, the kid didn't even, I call him a kid because he's young, didn't even blink. So at that time, I started to see interest, and I have some friends there. It has involved. And we all know that China has become the number one consumer of Cuban cigars from Habanos in the world. But that said, we all analyze why. Is it because now half of Habanos is owned by this Hong Kong operation that
true.
There's a lot of things behind the scenes. There's people said that the monopoly has something to do with it. Others say it's a private group, but it's kind of hard what's going on.
Yeah, it's funny. I lived in China as well, and I know, their.
Oh my God!
Their consumer patterns are. I mean, they love their luxury goods. They love their.
Oh my God! I went to it was the year, I think it was 2013. I think I went to the opening of. I didn't go. I was passing by, and I see this set, and I thought it was like they were filming a movie. All these curtains, all these lavish statues and all that. And I asked Edward Wan that was traveling with me, what's that? And he goes, no, that's the opening for, I don't know if it was Bentley or one of those things.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They're communists, but they love everything that's Western. Why has the prices of wine, of scotch, of bourbon, of champagne, of luxury goods gone through the roof? It's not Europe.
China,
it's not the States. It's China, baby. It used to be Russia. That ship left a long time ago. It's the Chinese.
For sure. Yeah, we saw even in like Swedish, the Mackmyra, there's a Swedish whiskey that started going through the roof with sales, and that was selling when they started selling towards China.
Crazy.
I think. I want to go back a bit with your involvement in the industry, because obviously you've had such a long and career within that. And for someone like us who's not involved really within the industry, is just like a passionate consumer, what are some things that that who's not involved wouldn't really know about? Obviously, you can't expose any trade secrets or anything like that, but just some insight into
stuff that the average Joe just would have no idea.
Yeah,
that
I
goes
guess.
on with
Yeah,
the
it's
production of
very
cigars.
broad, but if there's anything that you just
that comes to mind,
something.
Look, let me tell you this way. I've had the fortune to 30 years with La Aurora, 3 years with Ernie, 2 years with Hoya, now with Carlito. The factories are all more or less, give or take a bit, the same. But what makes them successful is all about the quality of tobacco, but also the rollers.
Okay.
And quality control. Some factories are not as tight on that. It's not that they're cutting corners, but they'll let little things go. And but at the end of the day, I think in many cases, Ernie's and I would say Padron, and I said Fuente, it's the way the tobaccos are fermented, the way the cigars are made. Like in our case, it's entubado, the old Cuban way. I mean, it could be, the book, could be with the Lieberman, could be whatever it is. But what you want is a cigar to really draw well. But it's also, at the end of the day, you could have all the ingredients, the best steak in the world, and the best salt in the world, and the best vegetables in the world, and all that. But at the end of the day, it's the cook. In this case, it's the master blenders, the guys that are there working on different blends, that have the patience, that have the knowledge to deal with the tobaccos and come up with these great recipes. Because I got to tell you something, I don't care how famous the chef is, he didn't get all these awards on the first meal he ever cooked. It took him time. So the same thing has happened. And then you got to remember, Don Arturo, Carlito's grandfather, taught Don Carlos. Don Carlos taught Carlito, but Carlito all the time was around all the great master blenders and all that, from Don Angel Oliva, from Frank Llanesa, from the people in Nicaragua. He knew all the old Cubans and all that. So it's something, I'll put it to you this way. You can't go to university to study this. You can take all the sommelier classes you want, but this is right here. Smoking and enjoying. There's no book that's going to tell you how to really go into it. So insights, every company has their own little, their not little details that make the difference between what comes out of that factory and what doesn't come out from other factories. Because I'll tell you this, a very simple example. You give to me, to Juan Sosa, to Carlito, to Lito, to Pepin, to AJ, the same filler, the same binder, and the same wrappers. All 6 or 7 of us will make 7 different cigars.
Amazing.
Because the style of blending.
That is just what makes it so cool and fascinating. The cigars in general is just how much you can alter it just by the process.
It's a pure art.
It
is pure art. It is.
It's fantastic too. Yeah.
All right, so another little. We mentioned this a little bit, but I really wanted to hear about this. I mean, everyone or most people know about the collaboration between Fuente, Merapfel family, like you mentioned. The stuff that they're doing in Cameroon is incredible to bring forward that region. So far away from the Caribbean and all that stuff, it's completely different. But they make an amazing tobacco wrapper. But it isn't without the geographical and political problems, and we've heard about it. It's very challenging. But do you think there are any other regions maybe that could be on the cusp of breaking through, much like Cameroon? That's because we have our traditional regions, but then Cameroon comes not out of nowhere, but Cameroon comes out in Africa, and it's incredible. Are there any other places you think are on the verge to maybe?
There could be there. To be honest, guys, there could be, but this is what people don't understand about Cameroon. The Merapfel family, which now with Josh and Jeremiah, it's 5 generations. They've been going through tobacco from their days in Indonesia when they were making cigars in Germany. Heller Merapfel, Jeremiah's grandfather, worked with Cuba many years. When the embargo came, he was the one that bought all remaining tobacco for export and got it out of that. Rick Marifel, Joshua and Jeremiah's father, lived in Cuba for many years, and then he left. If it weren't, remember that Cameroon was run by the French monopoly by Seita, and when they abandoned, that was the end of Cameroon. The millions and millions of dollars that the Marifel family has put into developing that, they give jobs to around 20 to 25,000 people.
Amazing.
The infrastructure, the security is handled by Marifel, the clinics by Marifel, the schools by Marifel, the water by Marifel, the electricity that's needed by Marifel. So could there be land out there? Probably. But who's willing to spend millions? I'm not talking about millions of pesos or dinars or devaluated Venezuelan bolivars. We're talking about millions of dollars that goes into there. But not only that, the dangers of it. I mean, I think it was Josh, or I don't know if it was Jeremiah, one of them was down there and picked up some disease and was in a hospital for 6 months, barely made it. Jeremiah's back is totally screwed up because of traveling. There's no roads. You're going into a Jeep into the jungle. So, I mean, I knew Heller, I knew Rick, I knew Josh and Jeremiah growing up as kids. And I have the utmost respect for that family for what they've done. And, you have a lot of people that commercialize stuff that was not, that's called Cameroon, that personally, it's very unfair. That is really not being true to consumers. I don't care who grows it in Cameroon. If it's grown in Cameroon, it's Cameroon. But you can't take Sumatra seed grown in some place and call it Cameroon. It's not fair to the Marifel, but more than anything else, it's not fair to the people who are going through hell and back in Cameroon because it's their livelihood.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do one more question, and then we'll get into some follower questions. We allowed our followers to send in a few questions. They were obviously very excited to have you.
Yes, no problem. Remember, I said I got a couple of hours for you guys.
Yeah, that's great.
You guys seem nice, but when I go to Sweden, you got to take me to a nice place where I can have a lot of sill, because I love sill.
Oh,
I can eat it every day.
That's great to hear. Yeah, we come from lovers of sill.
Yeah, we do. We do love it.
My wife dislikes it. My father-in-law loves it, but my wife dislikes it.
Oh wow. Well, yeah, you have her portion then. I guess that's a good even out.
Definitely, all the time. I always say when we're in Sweden, give me Emma's part.
That's amazing. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts of, maybe some predictions. I mean, we've been hinting on some of this stuff, the regulations, what regions with tobaccos have been changing. Do you have any predictions of the future of the cigar industry? Where are we heading? Where are we headed? Is there anything you see there?
Look, to be honest, I don't have a crystal ball. You got to look that in our lifetime, two things have affected the world: 9/11 and COVID. 9/11 changed the world politically in many, many ways. And COVID has even been more dramatic. Killed millions of people. It's still not under control, still unknown the origin. There's back and forth conspiracy theories, which I think have done more harm than good. Look at people not wanting to be vaccinated. I'm a COVID survivor. And I said it very clear. I have to be in 24 days in a hospital.
Oh, wow.
I make it as a joke. I even somebody made a t-shirt for me. I'm a COVID survivor because I smoke cigars. We got to look at smoking bans. We got to look at regulations. We got to look at taxations. I got a friend of mine from a country now that just wrote me an email, said that the government wants to put in a 260% new tax on that. And I mean, they just wanted to go away. But that said, people will not stop smoking. People will find a way. What they do is they create a gray market, a black market. people selling out of their trunks, contraband, all
Yeah.
that. People will not stop smoking cigars.
Mm-hmm.
I see the young generation like yourselves, social media, great bloggers, great journalists, the magazines contributing to bringing the experience of smoking. You know, cigarettes you smoke, but cigars you enjoy. It's a lifestyle.
Perfect.
It's totally different. And I see a bright future. We just have to all unite against all these anti-tobacco people, get governments to understand that we're not big tobacco, we're not cigarettes, we're not about chemicals, we're not about adding shit to make it taste like blueberry or pineapple or raspberry or damn watermelon. You know, it's just 100% tobacco. So I think we have a bright future. I see a lot of young people engaged. And what I like about the young generation, the majority of them don't, you know, they like the good stuff after 3, 4, 5 months, a year and a half, you know, you see them smoking, like say, well, wow, you see this cat handling, you know, like an Opus or handling a Padron or a Hoya or whatever cigar from any company it is, you know, good, the really good stuff.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we gotta just keep smoking and stand up against them.
Yeah, exactly. And I do feel like the community is passionate.
And talking about that, you had a question, and you know, sometimes I get distracted. I think this all happens after COVID. That's a joke. It's always go like that. I got off course a lot. The only way you're going to develop your palate, if you only smoke Cubans or Nicaraguans or Dominican or Mexicans, whatever it is, you're never going to develop your palate.
Of course.
Why? Because the characteristics of every country are totally different.
Yeah.
And that's maybe in a couple of months, we could just do a video just talking about the characteristics of Connecticut broadleaf, Pennsylvania, Cameroon, Connecticut where it's grown. I think that would be fascinating. But you will never, ever develop your palate. Look, I love pizza and I love steak. Sometimes I go 2 or 3 weeks without pizza, without a steak, because what it is, you could only develop your palate in smoking different cigars, doing different pairings. And talking about that, never disrespect the guy who's smoking a good cigar with a Diet Coke. Personally, I would only have a Diet Coke if I'm in the desert and I'm going to die. But does that mean that I'm wrong? That I'm right? No, absolutely not. I know people that go to the store, smoke 2 or 3 cigars a day. The only thing they drink is Diet Coke, and they have good palates. So you have to smoke a cigar with what you feel comfortable with and what brings out the best in a cigar. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very personal and
100%.
Definitely.
What is it? What you guys drink? Something called aquavit, something like that?
To the sill.
Yeah, with the
Talking
sill.
about pairings, you have to have the aquavit with the sill.
I'll take the sill. You can keep the aquavit.
All right, let's get to some follower questions then. Starting off with Andres here. Great.
Oh, Andres is a good friend. He's a good kid. He's passionate.
So his question is this. What are the challenges to market a brand like La Aurora, which can easily compete with brands above its price point, but because of this price point can be seen as less premium?
And if I mean, a lot of the answer could easily be like, let the product speak for itself. But his follow-up to that would be then, how do you reach the customers that might be overwhelmed at the offerings at that price point and who are used to more expensive cigars? So basically, how do you market a brand that's punching above its price point, but can be, you know, stereotypically be looked at the price and be judged on that?
You know, that's a tough question for me, because I was with them 30 years. And I mean, I traveled 35 weeks out of the year doing events all over the world for La Aurora. I think it's a decision that they have to make with analyzing by countries, events. Right now, a lot of consumers want to see the principal. Now Manuel has been traveling, which was a great person. They've had some changes now in the States. But because right now I mean, I haven't seen Guillermo in a couple of years, and I love them to death. And I mean, people even still tag me on photos and I'll make comments about it. It's a great company. It's the oldest company in the Dominican Republic. I think that's something that they just have to look at what they've done in the past and look towards the future. A lot of things have changed, and they have all the possibilities, and they have great tobaccos to make great cigars. What I think is they just have to look what's happening in the market and take it from there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Next one is one that I'm super interested in hearing about. This is from Bertie Bassett. This is a lively discussion on social media the last year. It's the whole mold versus plume debate, because there's like there's long been the word plume in the cigar industry, and there are skeptics, us included. What's your take on it?
Okay, I'm going to be honest about this. For years on social media and at events, I tried to explain this to people. Now, when it's brought up, unless somebody says, "Let's ask the guru, the professor, whatever they want to call me, the old man," it's very, very easy. Plume and mold are two totally different things.
Okay.
Let's go to mold. How is mold produced? It's, first of all, it's an excess of high humidity. And also, even if you don't have the high humidity, heat. So plume, and I hear people say, well, I got plume, I got mold at the end of the cigar, I'm going to cut it off. I say, it's still going to taste like shit. Throw it away. You're going to see plume in this way. Sometimes it becomes totally green. You'll see it bluish, and sometimes you'll see it like a white foam. That is mold. What is plume? Plume is the crystallizations of the essential oils on the wrapper. And it's going to look like a very mild mist dust, which you could take your fingers and do this and it'll wipe out. What it's going to tell you on plume is the cigars were in excellent condition in a good humidor, and they were taken care of and created that. Not every cigar is going to create it. I just came back on my trip now, and I still have a ton of cigars in Miami, but I brought back some of my very precious cigars. And when I was going at my friend's house in special humidor that I had, there was like the first layer there was some Opus, there was some Cubans, some Cien Años, that I saw them and they all had plume on them, but they did not have mold. So guys, it's very easy. Plume is one thing. Smoke them, enjoy them. They've been very well aged, very well kept. If you have mold, I'm sorry, you're screwed. Throw them away. They're going to taste like shit.
All right. Well, there you have it from the man himself.
All right. So we got a question from Manny or Manuel.
Himself,
And he asks, what is your most special or rare cigar that you've ever had?
My very rare and special cigar that I've ever had. Oof.
A lot to choose from, huh?
Oh my God, that's
56 years of smoking just going through now.
No, look, there's been so many amazing cigars. It would be unfair for me to say that. I couldn't really. That's a tough question. I mean, there's been a lot of great ones. I mean, one of my favorites, and this was one that was given to me many years ago, that then after his death was turned into the Don Carlos Personal Reserve. The first time the old man gave me that, I mean, that cigar blew me away. I mean, it was only made by one roller, and I think it was like they made like 30 cigars a day, and it was not commercial. It was a cigar that Don Carlos smoked. It was a cigar that he would give out to friends. And I mean, that's an amazing cigar. One cigar that'll be memorable for me was a Partagas de Reserva that I think it was 2004.
Oh, right.
I mean, there's been many cigars. Guillermo Leon's fathers, that actually was a Cameroon rapper, the Benji Melendez Cameroon too. I mean, we could go down memory lane. There's so many of them. One thing I could tell you that the after maybe smoking, I think I've calculated around 60,000 cigars. It's hard. It's hard. And I mean, there's I know I'm leaving out a lot of great cigars, but that was a fastball I wasn't really waiting for.
Manuel catching off guard. No, but that's just cool to listen and just hear some examples. It's incredible. All right, so another one from a follower here, RF318901. Great account name. But like with a lot of industries, I mean, we like to think of ourselves as the human race of always moving forward, always improving. With cigars, would you say that the top cigars today are better than the top cigars of decades ago? Would you say cigars nowadays do we have a better offering of cigars now than we do?
Look, to me, overall, I mean, there's companies, we got to pull them aside. Their consistency, what they create year after year is just going to be totally amazing. I think for newer companies, I think cigars are more rich, they're more complex, they're more balanced. They're working with different origins. But at the end of the day, you gotta have all the different good origins of from all over the world. But if you don't do the process correct, the fermentation, the curing, the aging, the blending, the making of the cigar, it doesn't really, it's not gonna really mean that big of a difference. I think cigars, to be honest, if you look at the boom days, where at the end of 96, 97, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 companies, 80% of the cigars end of 96, especially 97, were just totally unsmokable. Every time Dick and Harry was making a cigar, there were cigars that were retailing for $12 that were not worth 50 cents. Bungle cigars were better than what some people were making. That's what really ruined the boom. Yeah. The year 97, 447 million cigars were imported. And it was a total disaster. Next year, I think it went down by 180 million cigars, and all those cigars wound up in the JRs of the world and all these this huge discounters. So now we're having, you could say, a little bit more than a mini boom, but up to now everybody's making great cigars. And like I said, do we need more cigar makers? Absolutely not. Do we need better cigar makers? People are more innovative and things like that. Just look at some of the new guys, take a Flores, take a Nick Melillo, take Saka, take Skip Martin. I mean, those guys are making fantastic cigars. So, and there's others out there too. I mean, I can't mention them all, but it's great.
Fantastic. Okay, let's ask about the one question we got from pretty much everyone, and this is just a question that's this is never going to go away. We talked about this yesterday, lad. The whole Cuba versus non-Cuba debate. I mean, we get DMs every single day of people asking us about Cuba versus the rest of the world. Like, what's your take on this whole situation? The Cuban quality, all that stuff. Because I'm sure you have opinions on this.
Don't get me started on it.
Okay, let me take a sip of coffee, because this is as Eddie Murphy said, I think it was 48 Hours or one of his movies, to his captain. I'm going deep. I'm going so deep that I don't even know how deep I'm going.
Oh, legend.
Okay, let's put it this way. First of all, you have to look at the political situation in Cuba. While a roller in Dominican, Honduras, and Nicaragua was making $150 a week, $175, some make more than $200 a week, which is a lot of money in those countries. You're looking at a roller, regular production in Cuba, making $14, not a day, not a week, a month. Then they go to 16, limited edition, regional, some special stuff, $20. Nobody in the world can live in $20 a month. They're going through a very tough political crisis. You have to look at that Cuba was the number one exporter of cigars in the world, and now they passed to number 3. Nicaragua first, Dominican second, Nicaragua third. And if Honduras has a great year, they will pass to be number 4.
Mm-hmm.
The land is totally worn out. And still, when you buy them and you put them away for a couple of years, they're good. But then their biggest problem is you buy a box, let's say Monte Cristo 4. How many are going to draw?
Yeah.
How many really, let's say you get them to draw, but you take the foot of the cigar and you pick the ammonias. What I have been telling people for years and years and years, if you love your Cubans, buy a box or 5, smoke 1, see how it goes, and put them away at least for a year.
Yeah.
They need aging, absolutely.
Of course.
Now, my 2 cents on Cuba is this: no country produces better cigars than other. It's just that the cigars are different.
Perfect.
The characteristics totally different. It's like when people say, well, the closest thing to a Cuban, what's the closest thing to a Cuban? And I said, another Cuban? It's like when people tell me, the closest thing to
yes.
When people tell me the closest thing to a Cuban is Nicaragua, and I said, how long have you been smoking? They tell me 20 years. I said, you've been buying fakes for 20 years. They say, why?
Yeah.
Because the characteristics that are very similar because of direction, microclimate, and everything is Cuban Dominican Republic. There's parts of the northwest part of the country that you could see lights of Cuba. So if you look at characteristics of Cuba, very sweet, very nutmeg, a lot of Dominican tobacco like Piloto's that. But with Nicaragua, if you have the sweetness of Jalapa, but it's not the sweetness of Cuba. And if you take the fillers of Esteli, it's a lot of earthiness and a lot of spice that Cuban cigars don't have. So no cigar is better than other. They're just different. And that is the absolute truth. And then the other thing is, while you buy a box of any non-Cuban cigar, out of 25, probably 25 of them are going to draw a perfect burn with that. Good luck with that. So I think the world has been changing. Even if you look at London, which used to be the UK, the stronghold of Cubans, it's down to 65-35. Germany finished last year 65 non-Cuban, 35 Cubans. People got tired of paying 10, 12, 25, 30, 40 euros for a cigar that doesn't draw. What's behind it? We will only see the greatness of Cuba when democracy is restored, the rightful owners get whatever it's back, and it's going to take 6 to 7 years to straighten out that mess. Then you will see the greatness of Cuba again.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, and very well put and very well summarized.
Yeah,
with the bottom line that it's that they're not better than each. Like, you can talk construction better, of course, but when it comes to flavors, that's so subjective, and that's what we're always saying when this question comes up. It's always subjective. And
look, I've been in Cuba. I've been in Pinar del Rio, San Juan y Martinez. I have photos sitting down with Robaina. I have cigars that I still have some made with wrapper that Robaina gave to me years ago, and I have the utmost respect for the Cuban people. But I do not agree with their politics. And I do not agree the way the Cuban people are treated. 100%. Cuba has to be free again. My 2 cents.
That's a nice line, and I think we've taken so much of your time. I think that's a good one to finish off. But before we let you go, just to let the people know, because I think there'll be unanimous feeling here that people want more José Blanco after listening to this episode. So, like, where can people find you? Where can people find your stuff? Other than your incredible cigars that you're working on, your show and all that stuff. You can tell everyone that's listening here about what you're doing. Your channels, yeah.
Well, people follow me on Twitter. They follow me on Facebook. They follow me on Instagram. But I cannot finish this without, first of all, thanking you. But there's something I have to say with the people that I work with. For me, that I've had a friendship for more than 35 years with Carlito, and Don Carlos, Cynthia, Liana, the kids and all that. To me, it's been amazing. Because after I thought I was going to finally retire and come here to live to Europe, and I had this opportunity that came up on a brief dinner that Carlito and I have had, working outside of Fuente, you see it but until you're inside, you really know. And I know the passion about the Carlito has for what he has fought for the rights of the warning labels, the smoking bans, the FDA. If you look at his posts, you could see that he wants just a little guy. He encourages people to come out to do cigars. But what he has done that is, to me, Carlito, first of all, is family. Second, of course, the family company. But third, the foundation. To be able to feed every day 550 kids, to have primary school, high school, art classes, judo classes, to have all that, where that used to be a cave of thieves and people and kids that didn't have schools or anything. To me, that's one of the greatest things that he has done. And it's something that's recognized by the United Nations. Even people from other countries have come to see how the foundation works. And not like a lot of foundations that $100 million are raised and 90 million goes to first class hotels and tickets and staff. Here, 100% between the Newmans, the Fuente, and everybody who contributes to Toast of America and these special events that Carlito does. I mean, that's absolutely, for to me, like I said, my 10 years, my future 10 years with them, my first 5 years is going to be really a master's degree, and then the next 5 years is going to be a PhD. And at 80, I've told Carlito, well, it all depends how my health is, but you probably, me are going to be sitting on a rocking chair, smoking cigars and just going back.
I love
so to me, it's been an absolute, how would you say, an honor and a privilege to be working with Carlito and the family and being able to, communicate. Because to be honest, COVID has hit us hard. Wealth and lives have been left, but how many thousands of people have, myself, Liana, Jeremiah, have met through all these Zoom calls every week. There was times we were doing 2 or 3 a week, and we still do a lot of them. And we met so many people, and we've gotten together. So I know it's not going to be our last show, so maybe in a couple of months we'll do what we could arrange, to be honest. And I think you guys are going to do something with Merida, right?
Yeah, we got some stuff with Manuel.
Yes, we're going to work with her to try to do a Zoom, and everybody will get, we'll all smoke the same cigar, whether it's Don Carlos or an 858. Everybody will have opinions. I'll ask questions about that. And then what we'll do is in a couple of months, we'll do another Zoom when we'll just talk about wrappers and fillers and things like that.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
but like you said, I mean, if the quality, the flavor, and all that stuff isn't enough for you with Fuente, the foundation is just the cherry on top. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's really heartwarming to hear about in this industry that we love so much already, just with the cigars, that it's also giving back to people, and that you're also working with such an inspiring, for such an inspiring company. And
look, to work with Carlito, and to be honest, to be able to work with Jeremiah and Josh and the Fuente company is just outstanding, because, like I said, people at the seminars that I've done 1,800, now with all the Zoom, probably 2,000 in the last 20 years, people always ask, what's the best wrapper in the world? And I will always say Cameroon, grown in Africa by the Merelfeld family. So I fell in love. I've been in love with that wrapper maybe for 35, 40 years. And that's my 2 cents on that one. I think it's the most unique, flavorful wrapper in the world. There's great wrappers out there, but my first choice would always be that. But when we talk to rappers, we'll do that session. We will always talk about what makes the Opus rapper so unique too.
That Dominican.
I left that on purpose for the next session.
Let's do it. Yeah. Luckily, we have some aged Fuentes, lad. You're gonna get to have a nice Cameroon Fuente after. We're gonna smoke some vintage Fuentes after this. But it's been an absolute honor. It's been a privilege. We cannot thank you enough for this time. It's been inspiring. It's been educational. It's been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on.
So from José Blanco, love to all my brothers and sisters of the leaf in Sweden, and Andres, You know how much respect I have for you, and I think that you have a brilliant future, and I know we will still have the best to come from you.
Thank you so much, Jose.
Thank you so much for your time and everything.
Okay, guys.
All right, lads. Well, there you have it. Our fantastic episode with Jose Blanco. What an incredible time it was.
Yeah, what a true inspiration and just amazing guy who has so much knowledge within the industry and is always wanting to share that knowledge with the rest of the community. Really great having him on here.
Yeah, again, huge thanks to you, Jose Blanco, for coming on. And thanks to you guys, as always, for listening. We shall see you guys in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.